I, 31 female, have an older sister, Mary, 33. Mary's always been the favorite. Growing up, my parents idolized her because of her looks, grades, she was athletic, and more. She's described as my parents' golden apple baby. I, on the other hand, was born 2 years later. It was an accident. I was born prematurely with a heart condition. Growing up, I was in and out of the hospital, receiving countless surgeries. My parents always threw in my face that I was draining their money. Even though my grandparents always paid for anything insurance didn't cover. She never hid her hatred towards me. She'd constantly bully me, and my parents did nothing about it. When I graduated high school, I had enough. I begged my grandparents to pay for me to go to a college several states away to get away from her. That was the best decision ever, because that's where I met my now husband, Greg. Greg was a sweetheart. He always made me feel beautiful no matter what size I was. After graduating, we got married, which his family paid for because my parents refused, stating that they spent too much money on my sister's wedding a year prior. They didn't even bother to attend the wedding. We ended up choosing to live in the city we graduated in. I rarely talked to my family back home, outside of my grandparents. Greg and I had a son together. This was a high-risk pregnancy, and I was advised to terminate early on, as the results could be fatal. Luckily, we both made it. I almost didn't, though. The amount of strain it put on my heart was detrimental. Doctors strongly urged me not to have any more children, and we agreed. Fast forward to about a month ago, my family and I moved back to my hometown after my grandpa's health was declining, and I wanted to be near him. When I moved back, my parents and sister started acting very nice to me. My mom would ask me how I was doing and tell me how proud she was of me, which is something she's never done. My sister would join and do the same. I knew something was up, but my grandmother said to give them a chance, and maybe they missed me. 2 weeks later, I was invited to my parents' house for a family dinner. While at the table, my sister said she had a present for me. She whipped out a card, and I opened it, expecting it to be an apology letter. But no, to my surprise, it was a letter stating that my sister found out she was infertile and congratulating me on becoming her future baby's carrier. I was floored. I told her that I couldn't have her baby. I tried to explain what my pregnancy did to my body with my heart, and she started crying. My parents began screaming at me for being selfish and not wanting to help my sister out. I explained that the doctors instructed me no, but they said, for family, you take risk. I couldn't believe it. I grabbed my husband and stormed out. He's still shocked. However, I can't help but feel bad still. So, am I the idiot for not wanting to help my infertile sister, risking my health in the process? Honey, absolutely not the idiot. And what the heck? Even without the backstory, you're not the problem here. I'd never speak to them again personally. I'm sorry you've had to deal with so much. And what's worse, they didn't even ask. The card was just breathtaking. They told her that she was the one? The audacity. Like, I know I've been rude to you your whole life, but now you can carry my baby, even though it will seriously hurt you. Even if the pregnancy was super easy breezy and your favorite activity, you're never under any obligation to do it for anyone. And in a letter, congratulating her as if she won an award or she has the honor to have her child. For family, you take risk? Some families are just pure evil. Not only was your family of origin truly awful to you growing up, but rather than taking any responsibility for their atrocious behavior or showing any insight or self-awareness, they deliberately manipulated you and the situation for their own benefit. Your family's awful to risk your health for the golden child's gain. OP, go no contact and keep them away from your family, especially your child. Yeah, I have no idea why she still spoke to them at all in the first place. Like, take the hint already. They are garbage human beings. Stop letting them screw with you. If you can't cut them out because it's in your best interest, then cut them out for your child's sake. They don't deserve to know the child, nor does the child deserve to have such trash in its life. I, 23 female, had my son a few months ago. My mom and my husband's mom are opposites in every way, especially in child rearing. They hate each other. Both parenting methods are fine, but just from viewing their kids, I'll follow my mom's method to the issue. I do not bed share with my son directly, but his crib mattress is on the floor, and I have a single mattress about a foot away. I can reach him, and he sleeps through now. If you put him in his crib, he'll scream until he vomits. If I manage to get him to sleep, he'll only stay asleep for maybe 15 to 20 minutes. My mother-in-law hates it. My husband agreed when he realized it made him sleep through, although he wasn't a fan at first. I don't have an issue with our current arrangement. He will move to my mattress whenever he's ready, and we will adapt from there. Every time we see my mother-in-law, she tells us we need to sleep train. I often tell my husband to deal with her, but she won't listen to a thing he says. Yesterday, I lost it with her. She came over to see him, and I went to put him in his sling for a nap. She gave a disapproving sigh and asked if she could please put him down in his crib. I agreed. She's constantly telling us that he'll go to sleep in there with just a little work. I know he won't, but I let her see for herself. She went and put him in his crib, and he started screaming. I ran to get him, but she held his door closed so that I couldn't get in. She told me he needed to cry for a little bit, but then he would go to sleep. I managed to pry her off the door and grab him. I fed him to calm him down, which started a whole other spiel from her. In the end, I turned around and told her that she doesn't get to screw my kid up too. She was a little shocked, so I continued and said to her that she screwed up all her kids, and she was and is a crappy mom. She needs to leave my kid alone and stop trying to give me parenting advice that I won't follow. She started crying, and my husband stepped in and asked her to leave. He then told me I was overstepping and should have let him deal with it. She was only trying to help out, etc. I responded by telling him that he never does enough, and if he's going to try and defend her, he can leave too. He didn't leave straight away, but did at some point in the next hour. I left for the bedroom so the baby could sleep and I could call my mom. She came over with my sister, and we had a good evening. They insisted that I was well within my rights as his mom to say what I said. However, I am aware that they hate my mother-in-law and may not be the most nuanced. My husband told our friends, who are pretty evenly split, but I know that this also plays into their personal parenting opinions. I'm at a loss with the whole situation. Am I the idiot? What the heck? The moment she tried to keep you away from your screaming baby by literally holding the door closed, I would have kicked her out of the house. It's your child, and you know it best. Yes, she can give advice, but never forcefully hold a parent away from their child. OP, don't bother with the rest of the family and the friends. Your side is one sentence. She held the door so I couldn't reach my crying son. You are not the idiot. Exactly. She would have been out on the curb 10 seconds after this if she had done that to me. Tell everyone to wind their necks in. You don't stick your oar into their parenting, so they don't get to do it to you. Did your husband tell them about your mother forcibly blocking the door while your baby cried when he whined to everyone? I'd wager not. Ask your husband why he's happy to go spouting off about parenting to everyone except his wife. I'm a 23-year-old female. My dad has fat-shamed me my whole life. His words used to hurt me a lot as a kid and a teenage girl, and they never once encouraged me to lose weight. Ironically, they made me turn to food even more for comfort. I have a little sister. She's a tween. I don't live at home anymore, so I don't know if my dad has ever mentioned weight to her, unless he was making a comment about me in front of her. I was visiting for a bit. I only regularly visit for my little sister. If it weren't for her, I'd never go to that house again, LMAO. And we watched the movie together. My sister was sitting on the sofa between my dad and me. A little bit into the movie, while we were eating some small snacks, he randomly puts his hand on my sister's thigh and said some stupid crap along the lines of, "See that jiggle?" You need to start watching what you eat, sweetheart. I wanted to throw something at him. I was so unbelievably mad. It's one thing for him to say crap like that to me, a grown adult woman who's used to his comments and jabs, and has formed somewhat of a force field against them in all the years he's done this to me. But to my little sister? A little girl? My little sister didn't say anything, but I could see by the look on her face that she felt awful and uncomfortable. I wondered if he had said things like this to her in my absence. I know that feeling all too well, and it's 10 times worse when you're a little kid with little to no concept of weight and fatness and diet culture. Some of my core childhood memories are his weight-related comments to me. All I could think was, how dare he say that to her? How dare he try to plant these insecurities in her at such a young age? I waited until later when we were alone, and my little sister was upstairs in her room, and I just blew up at my dad, called him an idiot, and told him he should be ashamed of himself for trying to destroy my sister's self-esteem and self-worth the way he destroyed mine. I told him that the only reason I haven't completely cut him off is because of my little sister, but now I will not hesitate to cut him off and instead resort to spending time with my sister outside of his home without seeing him ever. He called me disrespectful, a disgrace, a poor excuse for a daughter who dares to speak to her father in this way, etc., etc., etc. But I was too angry to care at that moment. I just left to go back to my apartment. It's been a day and a half. I've been bombarded with messages from my mother, aunts, cousins, etc., all telling me that Dad informed them of what happened and that I should apologize for how awful I was. Did I overreact? Am I the idiot? Dad informed them of what happened and that I should apologize for how awful I was. Little baby tattled to mommy because he couldn't handle criticism from his child? The fact that so many turned against you in such a short time shows that he treats everyone this way. Everyone. They're all terrified of him, and they would rather perpetuate his abuse than challenge it. Not the idiot, 1,000 times. I hope you're able to provide a safe haven for your sister when they drive her into mental illness. You should blast your mom and aunts and cousins for supporting and enabling such a waste of flesh as your father. They need to apologize to you and your little sister for supporting such depravity. The only wrong thing you did here is not calling him out in front of your kid's sister so she understands your dad was an idiot. This is as much mom's fault as it is his for condoning this behavior. Since she knew about it and she still let him near the second child after doing this to the first, that's on her too, much less asking for apologies for him. I'm a 55-year-old male. Last week, my son James, 28, married his partner Zara, 28 female. They were together for around 9 years before they got married and met in university. Zara's from overseas. She's South Asian, though she's been here for around 9 to 10 years. She's been a member of our family for all that time, and we love her, especially as her own parents are abroad. Our family is white. My sister Beth and her husband Tom have always been nice enough to Zara and James, but last year, they found out Zara wasn't British Asian. She was a foreign national. It's an understandable misconception, as Zara sounds British, plus South Asians are a large diaspora here. They started making quips about visa marriages and 90-day fiancés, which I gather is a U.S. TV program, not in my presence, but J&Z ignored them. However, after the wedding last week, we had a family dinner where Beth and Tom again brought up visa marriage, made a Meghan Markle joke, and then said they'd only let their daughter marry a foreigner after he got British citizenship. Z and J looked shell-shocked as they didn't expect this to be brought up at a wedding event. I immediately uninvited them from the reception, there and then. My wife and I are paying for the reception as Z's parents paid for the wedding, and both Z and J were happy at the uninvite. Beth and Tom are now playing the victim, saying that they only had J's best interest at heart because they've seen the horror visa marriages can do to citizens being taken advantage of on TV. I said meaning well means nothing, and now they're telling our other family that we're bullying them. Some took their side, saying that they're only trying to help and I should re-invite them. I'm refusing as their reasoning is BS. First, because the U.S. visa marriage TV programs don't apply to the UK. It's much harder to get a spouse visa here. A 90-day fiancé isn't a concern because you just can't get citizenship after a couple of months of marriage. It's never been the case. From what James said, Zara spent around $25,000 across the years for visa renewals, her own money. It's not as simple as getting married. Secondly, James will be the first to say, Zara is far more qualified than him. She has wealthy parents, a doctorate, and earns $50,000. She doesn't need our son's sponsorship and would easily qualify for citizenship in her own right in a couple of years. Beth and Tom, in response, now say they didn't know the visa processes were different, but my opinion is, then why insult her at her own wedding? Just a lot of comments coming our way now, saying we should forgive them for trying to help. My wife and I refused, and Jay and Z are happy with my refusal. But people are now making comments about it being a reasonable concern, when it objectively has never been a concern. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If you want to run around the farm making nasty comments like a bigoted little gnome, you don't get invited to the harvest. Also, your sister and her husband share a single brain cell. The idea of these upstanding British patriots who claim to love their country and its citizens, but in reality are stupid enough about said motherland to assume American television show rules apply here is cracking me up. Best interest is not shown with lame jokes, but with a heart-to-heart with James and/or you to ask some questions and voice some concerns, once and then acceptance. As long as J and Z agree with your actions, you're good. Oh, no. The consequences of their actions. Idiots don't get to attend nice events. I have 2 daughters, young teen and teen, and 1 son, tween. My husband recently left me, and while he does pay child support, I'm no longer able to afford a 4-bedroom house with only 1 person providing income. So we had to downsize into a 3-bedroom house. I gave my daughters the master bedroom while I took the second largest room and gave my youngest the smaller room. Now my daughters think I'm favoring my youngest. They think it's unfair. I'm depriving them of privacy while my brother has privacy. My oldest told me to find a new husband or a better job. My youngest screamed at me, calling me a terrible mom who doesn't care about her kids' privacy. One of my friends also said I should move into the living room, and my daughters think I'm favoring my son by giving him his own room. My daughters are upset, but I can't afford a 4-bedroom house with my current job, and I think giving up the master was a good compromise. Should I move into the living room? Am I favoring my son? Am I the idiot? Holy crap, no, you are not the idiot. I mean, I'm impressed you gave up the master bedroom. You're paying for the house that they're living in, so giving the girls the master bedroom is generous of you. Ask your daughters which one of them wants to share a bedroom with their brother, since you obviously don't have enough bedrooms for everyone. And for them to even suggest that the head of the household and person paying for everyone to survive to take the couch, ask them which of them are going to pay the rent/mortgage, food, utilities, etc. They're teenagers. They're going to complain. You're doing a great job, OP. Keep doing what you're doing and be the amazing parent you already are. Honestly, I'd put the 2 in the second largest bedroom and take the master back for yourself. Tell them you're considering changing back when they apologize and realize that giving them the master bedroom was already putting them above yourself. If any 2 of the 3 of them were boys or girls, they would be the ones to share a room. That's part of considering their privacy. It's got nothing to do with favoritism. Rather than you moving into the living room, your friend should move their head out of their butt. What a ridiculous thing to suggest.